After we covered all the priests and their duties, the writer of Chronicles slips in the equivalent of one verse on Aaron and then 4 short verses on Aaron's sons, or really on his descendants. We are studying 1 Chronicles chapter 6, verses 49 to 53. Thank you for joining us. We're told that Aaron and his sons actually officiated the making of offerings, or the giving of offerings, on the altar of burnt offering and on the altar of incense. This oversight was for all the goings on and the work of the most holy place. The purpose of these offerings was clearly to make atonement for Israel. And all of this was done exactly in the manner that Moses, here called the servant of God, had commanded. Verses 50 to 53 then list the sons of Aaron through the various generations from Eleazar to Phinehas and right on through to Ahimaaz. We should point out here that the priesthood descended from Aaron and Aaron only. He, his sons, and their descendants were the only ones authorized to offer sacrifices on the altar. And only an authorized priest could make atonement. Now mark this, though Jesus was not descended from Aaron, he was nevertheless an authorized priest according, we read in Hebrews 7, to the order of Melchizedek, not Aaron. Out of interest, we should note that not listed here in Aaron's descendants are 2 disobedient sons of Aaron, namely Nadab and Abihu, who were judged for bringing a strange fire of corrupt worship to the altar. You can check that out in Leviticus chapter 10. Clearly, the priesthood was a most important office in the days of Israel and the Old Testament, and it continued as such until the time of Jesus, who himself had to deal with the high priest or priests of his days on earth. During Jesus' life and ministry on earth, 2 men held the title of high priest, often operating as a powerful tag team. When I think of that word tag team, I think of a team of wrestlers tagging each other to take over when one gets tired or in trouble. They were Annas and Caiaphas. While Jewish law originally intended for a high priest to serve for life, the Roman authorities frequently stepped in to depose and appoint them to maintain political control. This created a unique dynamic during Jesus' time. Caiaphas, or Caiaphas, whichever way you want to pronounce it, Joseph van Caiaphas, he was the officially recognized ruling high priest during Jesus' adult ministry and trial, serving from roughly 18 to 36 AD, or the Christian era. He was appointed by the Romans and held the office longer than anyone else in that era, working closely with the Roman governor Pontius Pilate. Annas was Caiaphas' father-in-law and had served as the official high priest earlier, from 6 to 15 in the Christian era, or 6 to 15 AD, until the Romans deposed him. Now, despite being officially out of office, Jewish tradition still viewed him with immense respect, and he wielded massive behind-the-scenes political and religious influence. This dual dynamic is why the Gospel of Luke in chapter 3, verse 2 explicitly states that John the Baptist's ministry began, quote, during the high priesthood of Annas and Caiaphas. It also explains why after Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was first taken to Annas for questioning before being sent over to the official trial presided over by Caiaphas. What happened after Jesus' time with respect to this office is also of interest. Following the time of Jesus' earthly ministry, the office of the Jewish high priest, also known as Kohen Gadol, underwent a tumultuous period of political manipulation, culminating in total erasure or erasing when the Roman Empire destroyed Jerusalem. During the final decades of the Second Temple period, approximately 33 to 70 AD, the high priesthood was highly politicized and everything changed. Instead of being a purely spiritual, lifelong, hereditary office as outlined in the Torah, the position was bought, sold, and heavily controlled by the Roman governors or procurators and the Herodians. The dynasty of Annas and his son-in-law Caiaphas, who presided over the trial of Jesus, held immense power for decades. Several of Annas' sons cycled through the office. As tensions rose against Rome, the office changed hands rapidly. The last or final high priests were often political appointments who failed to command the spiritual respect of the broader Jewish populace, which was increasingly influenced by the Pharisees, the ancestors of rabbinic Judaism. And then, during the First Jewish-Roman War, 66 to 73 AD, Jewish revolutionaries, the Zealots, took control of Jerusalem. In an attempt to strip the aristocratic families of power, they chose the very last high priest, a simple stonecutter named Phannias ben Samuel, by casting lot. When the Roman legions under Titus breached Jerusalem in 70 AD, they burned the second temple to the ground. This was the 70 AD destruction. Because the entire framework of the high priest's duties was explicitly tied to the sacrificial rituals within the temple, the office ceased to function overnight. And that is when rabbinic Judaism took roots. With the temple gone and the high priesthood obliterated, the spiritual leadership of Judaism shifted entirely away from the Sadducees, the priestly aristocracy, and it shifted to the sages and rabbis, otherwise known as the Pharisees. Judaism restructured itself around prayer, study of the Torah, and local synagogues, replacing animal sacrifices with deeds of loving kindness and prayer. Today, though, in mainstream Judaism, the office of the high priest is completely defunct. There has not been a functioning Jewish high priest for nearly 2,000 years. However, the priestly lineage itself was not lost. The Kohanim priests, or ordinary priests, Kohanim or plural Kohen, who are traditional patrilineal descendants of Aaron, still hold a distinct status in modern Judaism. People with last names like Cohen, Khan, Kaplan, or Katz, K-A-T-Z, often trace their roots to this lineage. While there is no high priest, ordinary Kohanim still perform specific symbolic duties in Orthodox and conservative synagogues today, such as being called first to read the Torah and delivering the Aaronic priestly blessing known as Birkat Kohanim to the congregation. And we also have the Third Temple movement. Certain Orthodox groups in Israel, such as the Temple Institute, actively prepare for the prophesied building of a third temple. They have recreated the traditional priestly garments, mapped out genealogical records, and run educational programs to train modern Kohanim in temple rituals so that the priesthood, including the office of the high priest, can be immediately restored if the temple is ever rebuilt. As a further note of interest, while the Jewish high priesthood ended, the tiny, distinct community of the Samaritans on Mount Gerizim, or Gerizim, has maintained their own separate, unbroken line of Samaritan high priests continuously to this day. Now you know the rest of the story. Next time, we'll take a look at where the Old Testament priests and the Levites lived. In the meantime, if you like this kind of digging, make sure you indicate that you like this video wherever you're watching it. And if you haven't done so already, go to YouTube, type in Digging for Scriptural Gems, and subscribe to our blog. But above all, keep on studying the Word of God.